Josh Weinfuss with us for a couple of minutes. ESPN, Arizona Cardinals insider beat reporter out there. The Cardinals take on Minnesota to wrap up preseason play. A couple of weeks they open up against Washington. He joins us for a few minutes. What do you believe will happen with Kyler Murray this season?
I think he'll come back. I don't see it happening in the first 4 weeks, so maybe mid-season. And here's the thing: like, whatever happens to him after this season, he has to play this year. Whether that's, whether that's to prove that he can play with this coaching staff and play in this offense, or whether that's if the Cardinals are set on trading him to put new film on or new stuff on tape, right? Like, he has to be out there, and I think that we're going to see a quarterback more comfortable this year than he has been in the last year or two. I think that what they're running, what they've designed for him, he'll be under center more. He'll be able to throw more. I think these are going to, play into his skill set. I really do. We've seen some maturity out of him so far. And the little that we've seen from Kyler this offseason, I think this injury kind of humbled him a little bit. And I think that's going to translate to some good things on the field. I've always been a guy that believes that Kyler's a very talented quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People want to look at the end of last year. Well, you can't. Well, you can't judge anybody off the end of the last 4 seasons because Cliff Kingsbury just did not know how to coach second half of the season. That's kind of a fact, right? His records always took a dive. But Kyler Murray was in the MVP conversation. He led this team to what, 7-0 start, 8-0 start. They were 10-2 the first half of 21. And in the last season and a half, you can't pin on the quarterback. Sure, he was part of it, but I think it was more a coaching thing. So I think you get him under Drew Petzing, the new offensive coordinator, working with Israel Wolfork, the new quarterbacks coach. I think we're going to see a Kyler that we haven't seen before, whether that's because of the scheme, because of the maturity, whatever it is. I think when he comes back and once he kind of starts to feel normal again, because I think there's going to be that mental hurdle to get back after after an ACL injury, especially for a guy who uses his legs as much as he does. Once he gets back from that mentally, I think we're going to see the type of quarterback that everyone has known in the past. And could that translate into wins? Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think that's very fair. I think Kyler is a real big chip in all this because you could take Kyler Murray if he wants out of here and get a bunch back in all likelihood too. And you already have what appears to be high draft picks here in Arizona and Houston. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, I think, Josh, you can go through around this team where, yeah, on the surface, it doesn't look like they're going to do anything this year. But it's all setting up for what happens in 24 because, you got to go play the games. And if you're sitting there at 1-12, or if you're sitting there at 6-6, okay, now where are you at? So this conversation could have a whole different tone by the time we get to November 1st, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem with this conversation is that, like you said, there's so many different scenarios, right? So it's so fluid that we can talk for an hour about all the different what ifs that could happen this season. And I think there's some teams where you kind of know, like, this is how it's going to go.
Yep.
We just know how this year's going to go because of all the different factors. Kyler, new coaching staff, new offense, new defense, everything. We just don't know how this year's going to turn out. So a lot of speculation, a lot of guessing. So we're trying to read the tea leaves as much as we can. But looking forward to next year, I think it's interesting. They already have 11 picks. So if you trade, if you and they get the Texans first round pick. So if you trade either one of your first round picks, that's another at least 2 or 3 this in 24. They could they could revamp this roster just on rookies alone next offseason.
All right, that'll be fun. Appreciate the time and insight as always. Safe travels. Thanks.
Thanks anytime.